So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the difference between participles and gerunds. And we're looking on the first side of this sheet. Okay, this is, okay, so you guys, left to your own devices, you might play heads or tails to decide if it's participles or gerunds. But I want you to use some of your grammar questions. I want us to analyze. So we're going to do the front side together as a class. Your homework is to do the back side, and if you look on the board, on the back, you will diagram 1, 4, and 8. So just go ahead and circle those. 1, 4, and 8. And on the back, would you cross out number 10? Okay, just cross out number 10.
Oh, you don't diagram any of these?
Correct. 1, 4, and 8. That's your back side.
Wait,
On this side,
1, 4, and 8 on the back.
1, 4, and 8. This is your back side.
Oh, okay, not the front side.
Yeah. We're not going to diagram on the front because what I want us to do is just have some conversations about how you can tell the difference between a participle and a gerund. Okay? So let me just tell you, when you're doing this on this front side, I've already underlined the participle phrase. On the back side, you have to underline it. But I do want you to think about, is this a participle or a gerund? And one of the first things that's going to help you do this is to identify the subject verb of every sentence. So, Caroline, what is the subject verb of that first sentence? The candidate getting the most votes wins the election. Candidate's your subject. What's the verb?
The verb is, what about the phrase when he wins?
Wins. Yes. So candidate wins. So that just helps you know, okay, I've got a phrase, a verbal phrase that's between the subject and the verb. Okay? I have a subject, so my phrase cannot be a gerund. So let's look at getting the most votes. So we know, is this describing candidate or could it replace candidate?
Describing.
It's describing, okay? So this, you're gonna write participle on top, and you are going to draw a line. So participle on top, and you're gonna draw a line to candidate. So that's your key. If it's describing a noun, it's a participle, okay? What? That's all you have to do. Okay, but it gets more challenging. So you're drawing a line from the participle to candidate, just an arrow, and you're writing participle or an abbreviation. So, Kate, for number 2, what's the subject verb? After resting for an hour, you will feel much better. Is the subject, what's the verb? Will feel. So you've got a verb phrase, good. Okay, so gosh, we've got a verbal phrase that comes before the subject. And let's look at that very first word to give us a clue. What is after, Jacob?
Preposition.
It's a preposition. So Campbell, if we have a preposition, what does it have to be followed by?
But object of preposition.
And if it's an object of a preposition, what
It's a
part of
noun.
speech is that? A noun, which would make it a gerund. Can you guys follow this? This is like a lot of little grammar hoops. So you should write on this one, gerund. And if it's a gerund, I want you to do a slash. And what noun job is it doing?
Object of
So
preposition.
gerund slash OP. So you're not drawing any arrow if it's a gerund.
But can it be a direct object or a noun too?
It could. So there'll be some of these where you'll write gerund slash DO. Gerund slash subject. But on number 2, the gerund, resting for an hour, is the object of the preposition.
And the participle.
Participle,
describes the noun.
yes, and it's an arrow. So we're gonna do this page. You're gonna get this down. So number 3, reading a good novel always gives me pleasure. Lucy, what's the subject verb?
Reading a good novel
Gives. Okay, so Lucy grabbed hold of it. At the very beginning, what gives me pleasure? Reading a good novel. So now we know that that phrase is acting as what?
a noun.
As a noun, which means it's a gerund. So you'll write gerund slash S for subject.
So what is reading the subject, or is the whole thing a subject?
The whole thing, that whole, whatever's underlined is the gerund phrase, and the entire phrase is the subject. Okay? Now, let me tell you, that's one of the most straightforward. If you have a gerund phrase at the beginning of the sentence and it's followed by a verb, okay, it's a gerund. I'm sorry, if you have a verbal phrase. If it's at the beginning followed by a verb, it is always going to be a gerund. Okay, now, let's look at number 4, clearing his throat. Bill began to give his speech. Eliza Min, what's the subject verb in that one?
Bill began.
Bill began. Oh, well, what happens if we have a verbal phrase that comes before the subject? What do you think that's going to be, Tim? If there's a verbal phrase that comes before the subject. We said if there's a verbal,
Participle.
it's probably going to be a participle describing the subject. So let's ask, does clearing his throat describe Bill? Yes. So you're going to write participle and draw an arrow to Bill. Are you guys with me?
Yes.
Okay. So number 5, they enjoyed taking long walks on the trails. So what's the subject verb, Jonathan?
They enjoyed.
They enjoyed. Oh, and the whole rest of the sentence is a verbal phrase. So when it comes after your subject verb, you always want to ask the direct object question. They enjoyed who or what?
Taking long walks on the trail.
Does that work as a direct object?
Yes.
Yes.
So if it works as a direct object,
Gerund.
it's a gerund. So you're gonna write, huh?
Oh, no.
Gerund / dio. I am filming. Okay.
Heating up.
Okay, number 6. And you guys, if you're not tracking with this, please stop and ask questions. So number 6, we won't need any of the turkey roasting in your oven. So, Ben, what's the subject verb?
We won't eat.
Yeah, you've got a little adverb in there, but that's your skeleton. We won't eat. And then sometimes it's helpful to just figure out, well, what are these other parts? We won't eat who or what? What's the answer to that
Turkey.
question? Not turkey. Any. We've got a pronoun. Any. And then of the turkey, what is that? Prepositional phrase, turkey's object of preposition. Well, that helps us because now we've got a verbal right after that.
Participle.
So it's probably describing turkey. Does roasting in the oven tell us which turkey?
Yes.
What kind of turkey? Yes. So that is your participle. Draw an arrow to turkey. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit challenging. Number 7, his profession, teaching English to immigrants, occupied a great deal of his time. So Catherine, what's the subject verb in number 7? Huh? What's the subject in number 7?
Professional.
I can't hear you.
Profession of the book.
Okay, so profession's the subject, occupies the verb. So we have a verbal that comes after the subject. Okay, there's a word for that we've talked about in the past.
Non-direct
Oh, and a
adjective.
positive.
Oh,
Who's- okay, a positive. Remember, and a positive can be an adjective or a noun. So we have to figure out, is this describing profession or could it replace profession? So I want to hear what you guys think.
Replace.
Okay, give me a reason why it can replace. Does anybody feel, Anna Grace, can you argue that?
Well, his profession is teaching English to immigrants, so it's the same thing, like.
It's an equal.
Right.
They equal each other. Okay, could you say teaching English to immigrants occupied a great deal of his time?
Yes.
We could use it as the subject, so that's pretty clear. It's a noun, a positive, so it is a gerund. You can just write gerund / a positive. But I'm going to tell you, you could have a participle there too. So, and actually we've got a couple like this. So number 8, the magazine's cover appealing to younger readers will undoubtedly boost sales this month. Charlie, what's the subject verb?
For number 9.
8?
Cover and will boost.
Good. So cover, we've got will boost broken by an adverb. So then our verbal is appealing to younger readers. So we're like, okay, it's gotta be in a positive. Is it an adjective or a noun? Maddie, what do you
I
think?
think it's an adjective because it can't replace the subject.
It can't replace the
It's
subject.
describing something.
It's describing it.
So it's a participle.
And you could say appealing to younger readers will boost sales this month, but it really changes the meaning. They're not just talking about appealing to younger readers, they're talking about a cover. So it is a participle describing cover. So you should be drawing an arrow. Okay, participle, so this is a participle. Participle, and no, you don't need a positive. You guys, when you put participle, you don't need to say what noun job it's doing. You don't even have to say what adjective job it's doing, whether it's a predicate adjective or a positive. You don't need that.
Wait, can you maybe explain why it's in a positive? I mean, a participle?
Because it can't replace magazine's cover. It's not the cover does not equal appealing to young readers. Okay, if it was a noun,
If
those
it
would be
equaled
equal.
It
Mhm.
could be if it,
Okay, so let's do number 9, which is another one right after the subject. The judges, talking at length among themselves, finally gave the award to the Beagle. Okay, who am I ignoring in this class? Who am I not calling on?
It's normally
Is it normally you? Somebody
It's
told me
us
in
in the
4th period I
corners.
always ignore them, and I just want to know where my blind spots. It's
on
normally Sarah Rhodes.
your blind
it's the
spot.
quiet ones.
It's the corners. It's like,
It's the,
Okay.
it's the quiet
I think
ones.
it's going on the log. She's right there.
And because I'm loud.
Okay, this is for the corners, Olivia. Number 9, what's the subject verb?
Judges.
And verb.
And verb is gave.
Gave. So Campbell, talking at length among themselves. It's in a positive. Is it acting as an adjective or a noun?
It's acting as an adjective because it's which judges the ones talking among themselves.
So it is a participle or a gerund?
It is a participle.
Participle. Okay, so you guys, Campbell reminds me, when you're doing your homework, when you're taking your quiz, participles and gerunds are tricky. You've got to nail that definition. And what I would do is at the top of the backside of your worksheet, I just write a little reminder. Participles, adjectives, ing, ed. Gerunds, noun, ing only. So I would write that down. Even knowing them as well as I do, I think it's just really nice to have that definition that you can reference because it's easy to get it confused. Okay.
Call Kate.
Campbell. No, I've called Kate. I have
What?
called on Kate.
Oh.
Not Campbell. Catherine. Number 10. What's the subject verb?
Mary, no. Downfall.
Awesome. Downfall is. And Belle, what type of verb is? It's a linking verb. So what do we know is going to follow? Or a predicate adjective. So we have to decide. Mary's downfall is eating snacks between meals. Sarah Rhodes, do you think that that is acting as an adjective or a noun?
And now,
How do you know?
predicate.
It is a predicate nominative, but how do you know? Sarah Rhodes is right. This is acting as a noun. How do you know?
It's not describing.
It's not describing, but also
It
that
equals.
equal sign. Could you say eating snacks between meals is Mary's downfall?
Yes.
Could you say Mary's downfall equals it? Yes. They are equivalent. Okay? So gerund / predicate nominative. We've got time. Don't we have time?
Yeah, we have 5 minutes.
Okay, we've got 5 minutes.
And did you do the quiz?
I thought it
The quiz